White pawn marches to d4. Black knight marches to f6. White pawn marches to c4. Black pawn marches to e6. White knight marches to f3. Black pawn marches to d5. White knight marches to c3. Black bishop marches to e7. White bishop marches to g5. Black pawn marches to h6. White bishop retreats to h4. Black kingside castling. White pawn marches to e3. Black knight marches to d7. White rook moves sideways to c1. Black pawn marches to c5. White pawn captures pawn at d5. Black knight captures pawn at d5. White bishop captures bishop at e7. Black knight captures bishop at e7. White bishop marches to e2. Black pawn marches to b6. White kingside castling. Black bishop marches to b7. White queen marches to a4. Black pawn marches to a6. White rook moves sideways to d1. Black pawn marches to b5. White queen retreats to c2. Black pawn marches to c4. White pawn marches to a4. Black pawn marches to b4. White knight marches to e4. Black bishop captures knight at e4. White queen captures bishop at e4. Black knight marches to b6. White pawn marches to a5. Black knight marches to a4. White rook captures pawn at c4. Black knight captures pawn at b2. White rook captures pawn at b4. Black knight captures rook at d1. White bishop captures knight at d1. Black queen captures pawn at a5. White rook marches to b7. Black knight marches to f5. White queen retreats to d3. Black rook moves sideways to c8. White pawn marches to g4. Black knight retreats to d6. White rook moves sideways to d7. Black queen marches to c3. White queen captures queen at c3. Black rook captures queen at c3. White king marches to g2. Black knight marches to c4. White pawn marches to g5. Black pawn marches to a5. White pawn captures pawn at h6. Black pawn captures pawn at h6. White knight retreats to g1. Black pawn marches to e4. White knight marches to e2. Black rook moves sideways to d3. White bishop marches to c2. Black rook marches to d2. White bishop marches to e4. Black rook marches to a5. White king marches to f3. Black pawn marches to a3. White knight marches to f4. Black pawn marches to a2. White pawn marches to d5. Black knight retreats to e5 and gives check. White resigns and black wins the game.